Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up? What's up? What's up, Z and Mike? And today, this is the proper shop, by the way. This is just an intro video for you guys, so let you guys get to know me a little bit. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. My family wasn't rich. We grew up in, we started my life in Los Angeles. I had some issues, went to high school. I did Romeo and Juliet in high school. I was Romeo, ooh, and that was fun. I also, in junior high, was part of a project that basically in school I was the captain of a full-scale replica Discovery mission, the one that tragically blew up in the sky as it was going. Well, our school was honoring those astronauts, and we decided to build a full-scale replica of the cockpit of the Space Shuttle Discovery. And I happened to, the math teacher, Mr. Yoblin, who was putting that on, he kind of liked me, I struggled with my grades. I was kind of a wild little kid, but he liked me, and and he saw something in me that I didn't, right? So he told me, if you get your grades up, you can be captain of this thing. So I worked and I worked and I did it because I liked Mr. Yoblin. He was a cool teacher. But what was even cooler was that my dad was a carpenter. So me, my brother, and my father were able to go to the high. We go to the junior high at this point, and we built the whole cockpit with the help of all the other students in the class, the English and the math class and science class is what it was, and we all collaborated to build this Discovery mission. We used the computer class to go to, as ground control, and then we had 4 of us were the astronauts, and we were all suited up in NASA, and we had our whole gear and hats and stuff, and I remember being really proud of that. I was really excited about that, and it was one of the more exciting things that had happened to me in my life. I had grown up in a family that, you know how it is in Los Angeles. I mean, you're either kind of rich or you're not or whatever. But, I came from the other side of the track, so to speak. But the point is that, over my lifetime, I realized that there's these sets of highs and lows that we go through, right? And what intrigues me is, why do we have to have the lows and not just the highs? Because the highs feel good and the lows make me feel like crap, basically, right? So what I realized once I came to know the Lord was that life is a series of ups and downs, ebb and flow. And I didn't learn this right off the bat. I didn't even start investigating religion, or I didn't even call it spirituality at the time, and I was 27 years old when that happened. And I had already had one child, and he was, barely 1 year old at the time. But and it just really bothered me that, all these tragedies that I was experiencing in my life as a young child, just because of my upbringing and, the lack of knowledge my parents had, it was difficult for me to grow up in that kind of situation because my life had been so one-sided up until a certain point. Meaning I felt like I was being oppressed, I was being held down, I was always in judgment, I was always getting in trouble, getting grounded. And I just didn't understand it because all I saw was the dark side, or the negative, or the shame and the guilt and the oppression and the less thans, And throughout my life, I had these little bits of highs and lows. So what I'm getting at is that when we get to a certain maturity, or when we get to a certain spiritual level, we're able to, through wisdom and understanding, realize that the ups and the downs aren't good or bad or good. They are collaborators. See, because the Discovery mission, if you remember anything about it, they took off it was a big good thing, everything would happen, right? And then it blew up and they died. Tragically, right? Unfortunately. God bless their souls. Thank you for that. Thank you for your sacrifice for space exploration. But what I realized was there was the tragedy, the pitfall, but then there was the good. What good came out of that? That came out, it taught all of us students and everybody in the surrounding areas, since we were on the news and all that, it showed, hey, out of tragedy came, there's an opposite. Came a good thing. Teaching, inspiration, joy, inclusion, all that good stuff. All these good things happened out of this one tragedy. So I was sort of, now that I look back on these things in my life, I realize, okay, so what can I learn from this? This means that, what does that mean? And so it wasn't until I started learning about how my brain works and, positives and negatives and good and bad and devil and God and good and evil and, love and hate and all those good things, all the opposites, right? But how do I balance that? How do I get to a point in my life where I'm not having so many goods that I can't relate to someone with all the bads? Or how do I go from all the bads and relate to someone with all the goods? Because in my life I was like, well, all those rich people, they have everything they want, so I despised them, right? I said, oh, I can't be rich. Why are they rich? Me. They need to share some of that. So I had this viewpoint was one-sided. And then, there came a point in my life where I was making some good money. And then I went from having nothing to a lot of stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. But then I ran it till the brakes came off. And I crashed that car because I was going so fast that I just crashed. And I realized that, with every up, there's a down, and every down, there's an up. So what do we do to balance that, right? So in the Bible it says, Jesus said, my people are persecuted for their lack of knowledge. And then I started thinking about that, and I go, well, how can what do you mean knowledge? They're persecuted for their lack of knowledge. And then, I got into politics, I was totally in Rush Limbaugh and all these things, and I was looking at, all this stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna change the world. I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I don't like that. Well, then I became judgmental because I had a head full of Jesus, but I stopped remembering where I came from. So, I would meet people and I would just start, bam, Bible thumping people, right? And that didn't work either. So I said, I got to scratch everything I learned about the Bible for a minute and kind of get some balance to this thing, because it doesn't work if I don't have any Jesus, if I don't have any faith, and it doesn't help if I have all the faith in the world and nothing else. No balance. So what happens when worlds collide? You know what I mean? So what I'd like to propose is, and what happened when I crashed, let me go back a little bit. What happened when I crashed was I became addicted to substances. right? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to control my emotions. I didn't know that there was another side of the coin because I was only seeing one side. So then when I had the contrast, I couldn't put them both together. And what happened was I ended up addicted to substances. And the point of this is, you know, some people say, okay, well, why does God let bad things happen to good people? And vice versa. And good things happen to bad people. So why do all the drug dealers get all the money and all this stuff and all the, you know, the addicts don't get nothing, and they, you know, and it's not necessarily them against them. It's not them against them. See, what you start to realize with wisdom is that there is an up and there's a down, and we need to find the balance. Well, how do you find that balance? Well, it's through knowledge and wisdom and having stepped through that path. Been there, done that type thing, right? So, my interpretation, my goal, my vision of the future is to help bridge that gap between knowledge and lack of knowledge, the good and the evil, the Bible and the world, and show you how they can ebb and flow together to come out with a solution that's acceptable for all of it, right? To me, to you, to encourage you to stand up and say, no. Everything's bad right now, but let me have hope, faith, that my life will change because I just don't know what I don't know. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you through that transition period to where you can find a delicate balance through my experiences and through what the things that I know to be true, because in my experiences, if you don't have someone to help you get through these things, or you don't have some sort of a coach or someone that's actually been through what you've been through, or you know, these sorts of things, then it's hard because you don't necessarily trust the people who are on that side of the track if you come from this side of the track, and vice versa. I'm not going to trust that guy if he doesn't, you know, I don't know what anything about. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you bridge that gap and do it in a common sense way. One that utilizes the scriptures, that also utilizes science. You know, science and religion and blah, what's right, what's wrong, what's right, what's wrong. I think they're both right. And I think that Jesus knew a lot more about science than anyone realizes. I think that Bible is a roadmap. It's a map. It's a design. It's a picture of good and bad, and he explains through parables how to get past those things. And if you stop looking at it through religion or I gotta believe in Jesus, you know, Jesus was the prophet that expressed these things that people wrote down, but it was all due to his faith in his Creator and his God. And what he really realized, he knew that we didn't know, maybe by default, was how to control his mind and how his mind worked and how his emotional intelligence came into play when dealing with people and situations and how to do that. You know, there were times in his life where he went out to the desert and he was just so stressed out that he literally, bled sweat, bled sweat, because he's so stressed out. Well, I don't think so much that was, you know, maybe really what happened, but the context was that he was having issues, and what he did was he had to learn to live by faith and hope that his God, that our God, would work everything out for its good. So in the Bible it also says, hey, he turns tragedy into harmony, you know. Blessed are those who are persecuted, for they will be lifted up. Blessed are those who are, you know, mourn, and they will be comforted. Vice versa. So when you read the Bible, you look at some of the chapters, right? And I'm just going to give you a little example, right? So in the first part of Habakkuk, it says, this is the burden that Habakkuk saw. He says, and he questioned God. He says, "O Lord, how long shall I cry, and you will not answer? Even cry out to you violence, and you will not save. Why do you show me iniquity and cause me to see trouble? For plundering and violence are before me. There is strife and contention arises. Therefore the law is powerless, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous. Therefore perverse judgment proceeds." And then God says, "Look among the nations and watch. Be utterly astounded. For I will work a work in your days, which you would not believe, though it were told you. For indeed I am raising up the Chaldeans, a bitter and hasty nation, which marches through the breadth of the earth to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment on their dignity, boom, boom, boom." And then, so he goes into this whole speech about how he's going to destroy them. And he goes, the prophet's second question, he goes, wait a minute, Father, wait. You're going a little extreme here. You're going to burn them down and, all this stuff, Bob. He goes, "Are you not from everlasting, Lord? Oh Lord, my God, my Holy One. We shall not die. Oh Lord, you have appointed them for judgment, O Rock. You have marked them for correction. You are of more pure eyes than to behold evil, and cannot look on wickedness. Why do you look on those who deal treacherously, and hold your tongue when the wicked devour? A person more righteous than he? Why do you make men like fish of the sea, like creeping things that have no ruler over them? They take up all of them with hook. They catch them in their net. They gather them in their dragnet. Therefore they rejoice and are glad. Therefore they sacrifice their net and burn incense to their dragnet, because by them, their treachery, share is sumptuous. They got a lot. And their food is plentiful. They never run out of food. Shall they therefore empty their net and continue to slay nations without pity? In other words, are these rulers going to keep filling up their coffers and keep bashing people down without any kind of pity? What's going on? They don't care about humanity? And he goes, "I will send my watch and set myself on the rampart and watch to see what he will say to me, and what I will answer when I am corrected." He's saying, this is what I'm going to do when God answers